Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. Now, the SNP have basically been forced into a U-turn, and for that I am grateful, because I think what they're U-turning on is inhuman. The fact that they had to be forced into a U-turn goes to show what monsters they are, because they had proposals and you couldn't get your mind round what they were planning. They were planning to criminalise the laying of flowers at the scene where a child dies or is murdered. Think about what they were actually proposing. Floral tributes that people lay in memory of a terrible, either an accident perhaps, or when you get, for example, the Southport killings, and a lot of floral tributes were laid, mostly by people who actually cared. There was that incident when the Prime Minister turned up, hung around for about 9 seconds, casually threw some flowers on the ground and FRO'd because he didn't want to actually look at normal, real people. But, generally when these things happen, people like to express concern and sympathy, and they do so in the form of a floral tribute. And the SNP were looking to ban that. And not just ban it, to actually criminalise it. You could have been taken to court and possibly even go to jail for being human and having emotions and having sympathy with the parents of a dead child. What goes through the minds of the SNP that they think this is acceptable? I mean, are they truly monstrous or what? Now, it is a humiliating U-turn because, they hadn't advertised the fact that they were even considering it, and it was the U-turn that's highlighted it. And I think now a lot of people, especially if you're in the SNP, for God's sake, you're still a human being, aren't you? Is that what you're voting for? Criminalising human emotion. And the reason is they wanted to ban this because, they didn't want the names of murdered children being released in case it caused racial tensions. That was the purpose. They don't want to highlight when there's any racial element to any crime. And so by naming children and perpetrators and things like that may highlight it. And so they wanted to ban it so that it wouldn't be obvious that when it was, for example, someone called Abdul or Mohammed, and then you named the children, and the children were called Sarah or Elizabeth, you immediately, you build those images in your mind, don't you? And that was against what they wanted. And so they were going to criminalise the fact that you could come along and lay down a small wreath or a small bunch of, lilies, and say, the darling children, Elizabeth and Sarah, or whatever it would be. And they wanted to criminalise you for that. Lord Carlaway, he's up. He says that it would impinge not only on the freedom of expression, but on the very ethics of humanity. And he's absolutely right. Now, on top of that, the proposals were that journalists could be jailed for naming the killed, naming the victims. What is actually wrong inside the SNP mindset? And it's all of them. If you're an SNP MP or MSP or councillor, you have to sign up to a code of conduct and you all have to agree to what the leader says. They're broken as human beings, aren't they? They're not human. They're inhuman. I'd even go so far to say some of them subhuman. To come up with such a plan that you would jail journalists and prosecute, friends and family and people in the community for laying flowers at the scene of a murdered child's death. I can't go on with it because if I want to say what I actually want to say, I'll be off YouTube and my feet won't touch, because I think what they are is complete and utter. And you know what I mean. Let me know your thoughts on this. This is disgusting. Let me know what you're thinking. Thank you very much. Goodbye.